I'm no good at taking good advice, and I'm self-careless, so don't tell me twice that lately I've been so stuck in my head that I forget just about everything my therapist said. Maybe I'm self-helpless.
Hey everyone, welcome to Self-Helpless. I'm Delanie Fischer, and today I'm chatting with astrologer Madi Murphy, who is the co-founder of CosmicRX and the author of In the Cosmic Zone. And we are talking about astrology. And I know there are a lot of opinions about astrology. Some people swear by it and incorporate it into their daily practice. Other people think it's woo. Some of you fall somewhere in the middle. I think it's fun and interesting, and I was curious to learn more about the history and what a modern approach to astrology looks like. Some of you already know this, but I was a religious studies major in college. I studied world religions and loved it. So I enjoy learning about ancient texts and traditions, and it's actually what I spend most of my free time listening to when it comes to podcasts. So I am a nerd in this area. And ultimately, I enjoy offering up a lot of different tools on Self-Helpless so you can pick and choose what feels fun to you to infuse a little everyday magic into your life. You know, some people like to journal, some like to flip to a page of a book and read that page like it's a message they need to hear that day. Some pull oracle cards, like me. I love that shit. Some read religious texts. People do visualizations. And some like to check their astrology report. You know, the importance of adding a little fun to your day, something that you feel comforted by, I believe is way more important than the scientific data and accuracy of any of the things that we just mentioned when it comes to your routine and makes you excited to wake up in the morning. I'm not saying that there's no validity in scientific evidence. I'm just saying if it works for you and makes you happy, then it works, you know, as long as you're not being an asshole about it. For example, I have a friend who grew up in a very conservative religious environment and wasn't allowed to do things like watch Harry Potter or dress up for Halloween, you know, stuff like that. And she loves astrology as an adult because she feels like she's able to play the way that she wasn't able to as a kid. And a religious text isn't as intriguing to her um, because of that. So, you know, you might be coming from a completely opposite situation where a certain religious practice feels really great. So, anyway, in preparation for this episode and what Maddie shares as well, it was really surprising to learn that astrology used to be revered the same way that science and medicine was. I mean, in Babylonia, ancient Egypt, Greece and Rome, medieval Europe, etc., these were highly respected and sought after people. And then the scientific revolution really split things up into different categories. And then present day, we know that the ocean tidal waves are impacted by the gravity of the moon and the sun. And since us humans are made up of 45 to 75% water based on our age, some infer that these gravitational pulls also impact us. How big of an impact is up for debate, but it's definitely interesting to consider. And just the fact that humans are made of the same fundamental elements as stars and planets, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, iron, etc. Just it's just weird to think about, right? So, we're talking about what Maddie calls the 12 Astro Archetypes. I really like her approach to all of this. It is not reductive, it is very expansive and fluid. So, if you have felt that astrology has been disempowering for you based on, you know, your sign, this episode is not that. We also touch on, is it true that some signs are better together romantically than others? She also told me that her husband was a very big skeptic when they first met, and now he's not. So it was interesting to learn what changed his mind over time. She also explains a nodal return. Many of you have heard about a Saturn return. So this was yet another return I had no clue about. We touch on retrogrades, you know, all that kind of stuff. Maddie also gave me a reading on this episode, which was pretty accurate for not only the season I've been in, but actually the exact moment of time I was in this day, which I'll share in the outro some updates with you. But yeah, it was pretty spot on when it comes to my past and different transitions I've had and why as well. So on the podcast, we've done a lot of personality type quizzes, human design readings, all that kind of stuff. Some have felt relatively spot on and others haven't. And this one definitely falls into the category of pretty on the money. And if you're like me, still very confused about the mentions of things like, your Saturn star is in the fifth node of your Aries rising house and all those intricate details and definitions of astrology. I still don't understand it. That's okay. We also get an overview about this stuff as well. So don't be scared. And I also know what you're thinking. Well, somebody can Google me and read about me on my website and things like that before they come onto this podcast, and they can try to give me a reading based on that stuff. And that's true. That stuff is available. They could. But Maddie also shares some things that are not available online. Only a few close people to me, if that, know about. So that was interesting. And, could this be the Barnum or the Forer effect? Maybe. But I will get into the specifics that she gave me that were definitely very interesting to me. And I'll share about those in the outro once you hear the rating in the episode. But yeah, this whole conversation it intrigued me and it was a lot of fun. So I hope it makes your day more fun too. Here is my chat with Madi Murphy. What are some of your favorite tidbits about the origin and history of astrology? Anything you'd like to share?
Ooh, wow, really opening up with something light and casual.
Yes. Why does this shit matter?
Where did the moon come from? It's like I love it. And I think this is like one of my favorite fun facts about astrology in general. Astrologos, it's the wisdom of the stars. And kind of the Roman Empire I think about a lot is back in the day, astrology and astronomy, they were neck and neck. Like people, the big scholars of our time, Galileo and all the people who kind of studied planetary cycles and tracking, they were also astrologers, meaning studying the metaphysical energy of the planets and using it to understand like what was going to happen, whether it was crops, what was going to go on, feast or famine, or what was going to go on with political leaders. And then around the time of the scientific revolution, there's limited money. It's always about the money, honey. Follow the money.
Yeah.
And astronomers were trying to, in short, get those bids, get those projects. And they started a smear campaign against astrologers. And then astrology returned while Neptune was in Scorpio in the 1920s, but it returned through newspaper horoscopes, which is interesting, an interesting tool for it. But I see why it was never taken seriously again, because that is like one aspect, right? It's like saying like, oh,
Yeah.
well, do you know everything about cooking? Well, yeah, I had a McDonald's like dollar menu burger one time, and you're like, okay. So I think my fun fact is that astronomers, created a smear campaign against astrologers, and that's why where we kind of landed at with it here. And now there's some very meta astrology happening for the past 8 years or so, where people are starting to like wake up and realize like, oh, there might be something here more than just like you're gonna run into your crush today or
So interesting. So yeah, we're trying to like get the comeback story that it deserves
comeback
in a way, right?
tour.
What is the difference between astrology and astronomy? If you can refresh my brain
Oh.
from my college class that I failed.
Great. Great question. Great reminder. So, essentially, astrology, what's happening in the sky, it doesn't influence us, like make us do something,
Right.
but there is a pattern to study. Just like we're connected to nature in certain ways, we're also connected to cosmic nature. And so we can understand ourselves better. We can understand the cycles of history we're in better by studying the stars. Astronomy is the more, scientific, but yeah, that word's kind of loaded, analytical, cerebral study of just the measurement, right? How
Okay.
far away is Uranus from us right now, right? What's happening here? And so that's astronomy again, was like a class like I definitely would have failed in college now. Way more mathematical. I actually had my ex-fiance, he was like a rocket scientist, quite literally. And he was actually someone, I never really thought about this until this very moment, but we had some interesting conversations because the overlap, the Venn diagram, is that, anyone who's interested in something on outer space, we're like, there's at least a cosmic curiosity of something like what else is out there, whether it's from a scientific innovation, progress, let's explore standpoint, or like how does that affect us here as human beings having this cosmic experience. And we would bond over there's certain things in astrology that are very interesting, like the study of the planet and what we associate with it. Like Uranus right now is having a moment. We'll talk about it if you want. But Uranus is this planet of revolutionary energy. It's upheaval, it's innovation, it's flipping things over. It's a very eccentric planet. Some people have even dubbed it the planet of queerness. And it's like this interesting planet. And when it
Mm.
shifts signs and it does things, it kind of disrupts an area of life for 7 years. And Uranus is the only planet that spins on a different axis. So we would bond a little bit over that of like, isn't it interesting that Uranus is the planet that doesn't do what the other planets do? And that's
Interesting.
astronomy, the study of how it's moving. But the astrology is like, what is that teaching us about human nature?
Okay, it's a kind of a cool merging of science and spirituality, and, like, you're so right. When I saw that astronomy class in college, I thought I was gonna be looking through telescopes and all that, and I had no idea it was a physics class. You know, we seem to look at the stars and the planets as being so far away from us that it can feel like
Mm,
they don't relate
mhm,
to us in any way, but if you do believe that, you know, everything is energy or everything is kind of a microcosm and
mm,
macrocosm of each other, that we are kind of swimming in that all together. And so it would make sense that whatever's going on up there does impact us in a certain way. So in your work, you break down different archetypes and keys. How are those similar or different to the 12 zodiac signs?
I had been interested in astrology from a young age, and my really one cool aunt who would like read my astrology and my numerology for me. But I just was sort of like, oh, flipping through books, whatever. And I think where I got a little lost with it, where I was into it, but I kind of was like, maybe not for me anymore, because a lot of astrology that I was reading was really seeking to define you. So, like,
Mm.
I'm a Virgo. You're a Virgo. You're a perfectionist. You're really nitpicky. You're judgmental. You're everything you do, you're gonna obsess over. And I was like, kind of, but like that's just like an aspect of me, and I can be that way sometimes, but I can be a lot of other things. And also sometimes I would read astrology books and I'd feel sort of like a little depleted or like a little deflated or a little bit like, oh shit, well that, I've had literal astrologers tell me things that were so concrete. And I was like, oh, I've had astrologers tell me I was never gonna have children.
Wow.
I know. I just had 2 babies in a year, so but I was thinking about the other day, I was like, "Oh my god," because this is astrology, it's like, this is who you are, this is how it's gonna be, and there's no room for you to grow and expand and evolve and play with that, and when I started studying the archetypes of astrology of, like, these 12 archetypes that are each represented through a zodiac sign, to me, I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," because if we say things like that astrology that defines you, like, "Ugh, I hate, my ex was a Scorpio," or like, "I can't stand Geminis." The fun fact is that we have all 12 signs within us, all 12 zodiac signs. So we're just hating on a part of ourselves when we say that.
Oh,
And
interesting.
there's just parts that are more dormant, or parts we haven't realized, or parts that we have like complicated relationships with. When I would see someone do something, I'm like, damn, I love her confidence, but I could never. I'm a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist. I could never just go out there and get it done and do it that way. Or, I'm I'm a Pisces moon, so I'm a little more shy. And I would watch people do things and just kind of be like, that's great for them. But like, I could never. My little sister is an Aries and she is the baddest bitch I know. She is so confident. She is so, so courageous. And more than that, she always does the right thing. Like, since she was a kid, like, she's just been very vocal about like when she sees something happening, an injustice, small or large, she speaks up. And me, I'm always like, I grew up very like, I'm the oldest, a Virgo, like I don't want to offend anyone. Or what if I don't have all the information? And she'd be like, Maddie, you know when you see something wrong. Like just stand up and say it. So
Yeah.
when I started realizing that I had Aries in my chart somewhere, I was like, cool, I can kind of mirror her and use her as an expander, but now through my own personal lens. It's like cosmic costume, it's divine dress up for your soul. My Aries energy, which happens to be in my 10th house of career, when I have to make big career moves, I'm gonna channel that Aries energy. And the more I do, the more my life is going to feel like exciting and expansive. And like there's this flow and this fulfillment happening that wasn't happening when I was sleeping on it. So I like to say the kind of astrology I like to teach, share, now write about is not astrology that defines you, but astrology that aligns you. Like,
Yeah.
okay, reminds you of who you are, connects you back to your life force, and helps you like move and flow and play with the archetypal energy, because the archetypal energy, the last thing I'll say about the key is that each key is an octave. So there's the high vibrating, high consciousness energy of Virgo, of Gemini, of Scorpio, and we can give some examples later if we want. But there's also the low octave. It's the shadow. There's the lower frequency. It's not like good or bad. It's just about the awareness of like, when am I tipping over into that shadow energy? What does that mean for me? What do I need to do? How do I need to recalibrate? Because the things that are going to make me great in those zodiac signs and those keys, I could also be like go a little too far with them. So in the book, I talk about like when to tap into the key. And then I also talk about gently like, okay, and then when to shelve it, maybe. Like maybe
Yeah.
when is that energy like taking over so much? So this whole book and the way I approach astrology is that we have these 12 evolutionary keys that are universal, I believe.
Yeah. First of all, hello to your sister. I'm also an Aries, which I know you know because we're going to get into a reading soon. But I like this approach of, I think it's also just a good compass for everyday life. If something makes you feel reduced to something or disempowered versus, excited or like you said, feeling of like that expansiveness, then yeah, if you're feeling kind of restricted by something, you maybe need to look at some new information or, change your approach, or maybe the way that something's being interpreted to you is just not it doesn't resonate with your voice. That is just a good piece of information, whether you're looking at astrology or anything else, that we are all very nuanced. And I like that you have this fluid approach. So the word retrograde gets thrown around a lot. And it seems like during times of confusion or chaos, I don't really know, but can you explain what does that actually mean at a cosmic level and how can it relate to, our lives at the time of a retrograde?
100%. No, it's such a good question, because it can become really like fearful. We can become really fearful around hearing this like retrograde term. So the first
Right.
thing I'm gonna say is we're not gonna fear it, but equally the nuance, we're gonna respect it. Respect the retrograde, not fear it. So retrogrades happen. The one we hear about the most is Mercury retrograde, because it happens 4 times a year. So I
Mm,
will probably use that as my primary example. But we
okay.
have every planet stations retrograde, which in the astronomical astronomy
Oh no.
point of view. Oh no, here we go from the astronomy, math and physics and more, scientific lens. What's happening is just that the planets like they slow down and it appears as if they're going backwards, but it's just because the way that we're moving on Earth. But so really all retrogrades are just a moment to slow down and
Mm,
reflect. And I think this is where, to me, I use the planetary motions and movement as another way of like interpreting, what the universe wants to say to us, right? Interpreting this like planetary poetry, while also remembering that we are this planetary poetry in motion, but we didn't come with a user manual. We didn't come with like how to write the poetry in the best way. So we can like look to the planets and be like, we get all these retrograde energies, this invitation to slow down. And it's like, because obviously in year 2025, at the time of this recording, we're in peak speed. There's just a tendency in us as humans to want to go fast, right? To be impatient, to just keep barreling on to the next thing, right? The next milestone, the next day, the next checkpoint, the next like whatever thing we're trying to conquer or experience or embody or achieve. And so I love that built right into our cosmic calendar are these like very regular check-ins and checkups.
right.
Take a breath. You have this one true wild and precious life. Why are we always trying to 2x the speed on it, right? Like, let's just slow it all the way down and then check in with ourselves, right? How am I doing? Do I need anything? Am I drinking my water? Do I feel good? Do I even enjoy what I'm doing? And that kind of leads to the next thing. Like, what am I working so hard towards? Is this even still in alignment? Because sometimes we just get so head down
Yeah.
on something, whether it's a creative project or, a relationship we're in or something, and we're like a dog with a bone. And we're very dynamic and we're evolving a lot as humans. So it's always good to think about like, is this thing still, does it still light me up? Is this even my thing to begin with? Or was this like projected on me that this is what I was supposed to want? Is this in alignment with my unique definition of what it feels like to have a successful, beautiful, abundant life? Retrogrades are time for rewords. So reevaluate, reassess, remind yourself, remember, reconnect. And I'll use Mercury because that's like, again, the one that gets the most press.
The
Very
PR
on
over there is very good.
the planetary PR is working, and which is very literal and meta because Mercury is the planet of communication. So would we expect anything
gosh, that's
less? Right. So
hilarious.
that's what I'm
Oh
saying
my
about how
God.
I could do a whole podcast of how literal just like the planets are and how we experience them and work with them
Oh
and
my
talk about
God.
them. So like we're about to have a Mercury retrograde, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's like very fearful. And I will say I've made every mistake. Like I've done everything you should not do during Mercury retrograde. They say don't sign contracts, right? Like don't make
Oh,
big purchases, don't like travel too much. And sometimes if I can avoid something, I will try my best to again respecting the retrograde. Like I will try to not like maybe do something for the first time on a Mercury retrograde that I've never done before, or whatever it is. But like I've had to sign a mortgage, I've moved, I've given birth, I've done all the things during Mercury retrograde, and it is funny. I will be like, now, like this is
yeah.
not going smoothly. But again, it's a chance to slow down. And so when
Yeah.
I know that and I have that awareness, that's what astrology is, it's awareness. So I'm like, you know what? Let me double, triple check the fine print on that. You know what? It's Mercury retrograde. So the movers say they're going to be here, but what if they're late? How can I account for that? Right? Like, oh, literally,
Mm.
like I'm in birth during Mercury retrograde, and my husband looks up at the clock and he's like, "Oh my God, the clock is wrong in our room." And I know that's really important to you. I'm like, "Thank you for noticing." So he got up on a chair and he changed the clock like a
Oh
good
my
husband
God. The good
of a
man
cosmic
button,
creature
pressing it.
does. Yes, good man button. Because we just had that awareness of like, okay, things might be kooky or take extra time or not be like linear. And so for all of us, like a Mercury retrograde is a good time to slow down our communications. Mercury is the fastest moving planet and rules the fastest things in life, planes, trains, automobiles, travel, technology, and our thoughts and words. Nothing happens as fast as you could think something. Nothing. Okay, I say blueberry. Blueberries in your mind. Like it's just our thoughts are so fast, right? And then second to that, the words come out of our mouth, come out really fast. So of course we would have this invitation 4 times a year to like, let's just slow down. Think before we talk, reassess, spend more time like hearing what's going on around us, or check on again like our relationships, and maybe like go back and be like, something still feels a little sticky here. Can I revisit that conversation? And again, this is not just me. That ex fiance I had who worked at Boeing, so I don't know how he's doing now with that. He had internships with like NASA and the NSA and stuff, and he said that they had protocols in place for Mercury retrograde because it just again, astrology is a study of patterns and cycles. And they're like, every Mercury retrograde, some kind of system goes down, something happens. So they're like, they have their own awareness. So it's like,
Oh,
if it's good
weird.
enough for NASA, like it should be good enough for us too. And like,
Wow, that's weird.
yeah. And I always like the spiritual invitation of everyday life. And so the last thing I'll say about retrogrades is Mercury is the trickster in astrology, like the planetary energies associated with like trickster medicine. So a big lesson that I've had to learn during Mercury retrograde is a lot of the things that have gone wrong. They're not like capital D disasters. They're just things where life didn't go my way exactly on my
Yeah.
time, on my schedule. And if I could just learn to laugh and not take myself so seriously, there was some sort of magic or medicine or message in that moment that I actually really needed and enjoyed, but it had to come from me first, just like releasing the clench and the grip on that like control. So
Yeah.
that's one example of Mercury retrograde, but you can look up whenever you get a retrograde notification, like look up the meaning of that planet and be like, okay, for that time period, it's a time to reflect on whatever that planet like means symbolically.
Is it almost like the more you try to strive during those times, the harder it will be? Like you're gonna have to work you're gonna work twice as hard because you're not kind of going with the flow of this new energy, and that's why the chaos happens? Would that be?
Yes,
Okay.
that is where the chaos and again, and chaos in itself isn't inherently bad. I love working with chaos magic of like, this thing's not working out, so what am I learning out of it? But
Right.
that's where frustration comes up, irritation, and nothing will block you living in your cosmic zone and that place of alignment and synchronicities and flow and fun and magic and sparkle energy more than feeling frustrated and feeling like, oh, like you get so clamped down. And that's why it's great to understand, yeah, like this is not the
Okay.
time to push ahead, right? I'm not going to be the swimming upstream, going against the tide. Like a lot of astrological metaphors I use kind of will tie back into like water and like and weather and surfing. I live in a town that's like a very big surf community. And I just think about like there's a much different feeling of, like, going with the the wave and waiting for the
Right.
right wave and having a good board and, like, maybe a good wetsuit and paddling at the right moment. And you're like, "Ooh, I'm really harnessing that wave of energy with the universe," versus being like, "I'm just gonna, like, try and swim smack on, like, go into this wave with no preparedness, not knowing how to swim, not the right, like, bathing suit on." It's, like, a much different experience. So, and I think that nothing's out to get us, nothing's out to punish us, definitely not the planets and definitely not like spirit. But I do think that there takes like a certain humility and a certain like openness to be like, okay, my plan was I wanted to push forward this month on something, but maybe I can like turn to the universe and be like, what do you want to show me instead? And
Mhm.
maybe, just maybe, they have a better plan that's going to work out like
Maybe
maybe a
the
little bit.
stars know better than you, bitch, okay?
Maybe, like, there's something out there that's better than us and smarter and more, like and also can be, like, more creative. Sometimes I want the outcome, and then I step back or I'm forced to step back, and I'm
Right.
like, "Oh my god, that was so much better than how I was gonna do it. I'm so happy you took over." Like
It is weird how sometimes things just feel harder than they usually do, and it kind of forces you. It's like, look, I can just keep going along and working 10 times as hard, or I can just take a pause. I wonder if a lot of those feelings in my own life matched up with some kind of retrograde situation. It would not surprise me if so. You mentioned, maybe getting alerts about retrogrades and stuff like that. What are some of your favorite tools that help you stay up to date? I mean, as a professional in this space, where are you looking to then interpret the information for the people that you help?
I have various softwares that I would do, like to pull up your chart. I have a software on my phone, a software on my computer, pop in
Oh,
your info, look at it. But what I always do, starting in like September, October, I pull something called the ephemeris, which is like the chart, the map of the planets. Essentially, it's like a graph. It's very not me. I was the like creative artsy girl. So the fact that I literally have a career that's based on like numbers and degrees and angles, I'm just like, thank God for computers. I would never, ever. I could never even like touch the outer spectrum of this career field if it wasn't for all the amazing like apps and softwares out there right now.
yeah.
So starting like September, October, I really do a very thorough map out of the year. And
Ah,
from there, I do like a year ahead big workshop and talk to really prepare like my community and myself for like what's coming in the next year because there's the personal themes and there's collective themes and it just helps me understand like, okay, like what are we going into? What's the vibe? What are the big checkpoints? And then from there, I actually put everything out in a little like a monthly magazine and I have, we have updates that go out and I do a weekly podcast where we talk about the weather, the astro weather. So it kind of keeps me like having to stay on track. But I will say when I was in my
right.
maternity leave, I was like, I'm just fine. Like in the first like time off ever in my life, I was just like, yes, like gonna cuddle my baby. And so sometimes I would forget like what was going on because I'm like, I'm not at my computer. I don't, like it's like those moments you're like, I don't even know what day it is, what year it is, like what's
Right.
happening.
I'm not gonna try to figure it out either.
Yeah, exactly. But then I would just get a ping and I'd be like, something's up. I'm like, oh, yep, okay, it's a full moon, or yep, a Mercury's retrograde. And that's what's kind of cool is like you get the alerts and notifications, and it's good to stay on top of that. But once you start doing it, you literally can start to like feel the energy. We are made of the same stuff as the cosmos, the star stuff. We are affected by the moon, just like the ocean. We're actually always feeling this energy. It's just to your point before of like, are we working with it? Or
Right.
letting ourselves be worked over by it.
Absolutely. Maybe this is a good time to lead into the reading. Whenever you would like to start, I'm excited to hear what kind of dirt you got on me. No, no rush. Pull up whatever you need to pull up.
Love this so much. So birth chart is like this crazy wheel of all this information. I could sit and look at your chart every day for like months and still have something
Yeah.
new to say about it. And that's kind of interesting if anyone ever here is listening to this and thinking about getting into astrology. It's such a map. It offers such like clarity or as I always hope, just affirmation, some validation is something you're already like feeling into. I have things I definitely can talk about, higher soul's purpose, some stuff going on your day to day of your chart, and obviously
Okay.
a big like transit you're in that started a month ago. It's going to last a year. That's very exciting. Before I get
Okay.
into that, while you have me here,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would just like to know more about?
I kind of came with a open mind of whatever kind of you felt was important, but I think where I'm always I've noticed that my focus is a lot on my creativity and how that impacts my career. And I get this feeling in my professional life that I'm never quite fully there. I've had glimpses of feeling like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and then that changes, and I don't feel like I get that so much in my personal life. I usually feel pretty
Mm,
I feel pretty content in my personal life, and then there seems to be this weird, not like kind of yearning a little bit in my professional life, but it's not quite clear on maybe it is there something more I should be doing? Have I actually made it to the place that I want to be? And I just can't acknowledge that because I'm chasing a feeling that doesn't exist. And
mm,
maybe I just need to
mm,
kind of deepen what I'm doing. So, yeah, I'm always drawn to creativity, career, and contribution in
mm.
that way.
Okay, I love that. So that gives me a great jumping off point. So,
Okay.
yes, creativity, contribution, career. Okay, so what's interesting about your chart is your north node, which is your soul's purpose. It happens in an axis of two signs, and they're connected. So your north node, in Vedic astrology, it's the head of a dragon. So it's like where we're
Oh.
leaning towards. It's what we're going towards. So your north node, the head of this dragon, is in one side, and then the south node, it's like connected, is like the tail of the dragon. And some people say that's like kind of what you're excreting out in this lifetime, if you will.
Ah.
I look at it as like those are gifts that you came to this life with. It's what you know how to do really well. And you're meant to kind of rethink them, reassess them, put them through kind of like a cosmic rock tumbler and be like, how can I think about those things a little differently? Your Leo moon, which I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's a very creative placement. It's
Mm.
in a part of your chart that's about creativity. So it's creativity on top of creativity. So your inner world, your like inner most like your inner child, your purest self, and the part of you like is really connected to how emotionally happy you are and fulfilled you are on a day-to-day basis is connected to
Yeah.
the sign of the creator, the performer. It's very playful and it's very passionate and it's very important to you, right? So when you say creativity, without that,
Yeah.
there's no buoyancy. Life feels hard. Life feels like, one of your keys to your emotional satisfaction and regulation and fulfillment is the key. I need to be seen. That's the Leo key in the book. I want to be witnessed in my art, my creativity, but even more than that, I want to be witnessed like for my heart, be seen as your most authentic self.
Mm.
So that's super, super important. But then what's interesting is that your North Node is in the opposite sign of Aquarius.
Oh boy.
So
That doesn't sound good, Maddie.
sorry, you're effed. No, I'm just kidding. It's just that, like, yes, there's like a South Node energy of like we are sort of leaving certain things of Leo energy behind to step into the Aquarian energy, but not in a bad way. When to shelve it with Leo energy would be very important as someone who has a Leo South Node. It's like, okay, like maybe I did Leo energy really well for the first like usually it's like 30 years of your life or so. You're like, okay, cool. The South Node, got it. Kind of the programming I came with. And then all of a sudden something happens, your Saturn return clicks, and you go into something as you get ready to like it's going to happen for you a little bit later, but like you go into this thing called a nodal return, and your nodal return is a time of like it's going to happen in about like a year and a half for you, and it's like a crazy like speeding up towards your soul's purpose, and it's a year and a half period where things are just going to happen lightning speed. So that's coming down the pike for you, but in the meantime
Wow.
it's like how can I slowly get my life into that adjusted alignment. So when this big pickup wave of energy comes, I'm ready. I have my surfboard. I'm paddling. Versus if we're out of alignment, sometimes the universe will move some pieces around for us. So with this North Node in Aquarius, your highest soul's purpose is to really be Leo is the me and Aquarius is the we. They're together. They're bonded by the zodiac. They're opposite signs. They share the same axis. Leo is very passionate about the heart energy and being witnessed and making art and sort of making life feel more playful and joyful, but like focused on that I energy, which is very important. And then Aquarius energy is the we, and it's a little bit more cerebral, it's a little bit more head focused, and it's the visionary of like, okay, great, where are we going? Who am I going with? How can I help more people? And so when you said contribution, when you said
Yeah.
creativity, I was like, they're literally linked for you. So for you, I want you to think about it like, how can I take what I've learned? And I know you're already doing this in some way, but over the next year, which I'll get into in a moment, you might
Yeah.
understand ways to go deeper with this. But it's like you're meant to take your natural creativity, even some of your confidence, some of your like heart centered leadership, some passion, use that as a driving force towards bringing people together, to creating community, to also maybe caring about some bigger picture things. And you don't have to do exactly this, but I've had clients with this exact or similar placements to you. And an example to put this in real life is one of my clients was an amazing filmmaker, actress, like very like just star quality, which you Leo moons have like in spades. You're just born with it. In 2018, 2019, she realized that like she wanted to use that and now funnel that into like and she went on a trip somewhere and she witnessed something happening and she's like, I want to like let people know about this. This is this injustice I'm seeing in the world.
Oh my
And she
God.
actually went and became a documentarian
Oh
and made
man.
right.
I'm
So does
sorry.
this
I have
resonate?
so much to
Tell
tell you,
me.
but keep
Okay.
going. Yeah,
So
no, keep
this
going.
is like so this is the astrology in action, right? Of like,
Yeah.
oh, my Leo energy wants to do something. It's a little bit out of the comfort zone, but it feels so aligned, right? So tell me
Yeah.
what's coming up for you as I'm talking.
So you mentioned about the kind of like the performer energy and all that. So I was a stand-up comedian for about 6.5 years, and I thought that was going to be kind of the path I took. Everything was going great, like externally, but
Mm,
it really did not feel right. And so I feel
mm,
like after that, when I did make changes, I started my own business, I started helping other people, like all these things. I felt like I almost swung too far in the other direction. Like I was so visible and I was very uncomfortable with that. And then I became so hidden, and that didn't feel right. And I get to still write. I write comedic things that are also activism, and I get to write them for celebrities and stuff. So I my work is still getting out there, but I'm not the one saying it. And I
mm,
feel like I need to bridge that gap a little bit where I'm the one saying my things in some way. And so now I'm in this weird place of how can I find a good middle ground for myself? And
mm.
so far that's been, I love doing the podcast. That feels like a good middle ground for me.
Yes.
And I wrote a book that came out in February. That feels like a good middle ground for me, is writing and maybe creating books and seeing where that goes. But the last few years, I have felt like I need to make some kind of documentary. I feel like that would be a happy medium for me, where I am that I'm bringing back that kind of energy of like creating something like that out of nothing, and I'm featuring something or other people. Maybe I'm part of it, but I'm not like the show the way that I felt uncomfortable with as a stand-up. And so it is really weird because I have been talking about that and taking steps research wise the past few months of what is this, and is it a podcast documentary, is it something I film, is it something I partner with an organization with, do I do it independently? But
Mm,
I've been mulling that over and nothing has felt quite right yet, so I haven't really gone further, but I'm in the very very beginning
mm,
phases of it. And I don't know. I keep coming back to, could it just be stuff that I share on the podcast, right? Like, could they just be, instead of a whole other project of a, like kind of an audio documentary, is that stuff that I should just bring to this platform that I already have, and me creating something
mm,
completely new is actually distraction or feeling like I'm not already doing enough. You know what I mean? So it is funny that
mm,
you said documentary, because my friends will know that I have told, and my husband, that I have been grappling with that for a long time. And I've met with, potential partners, I've met with filmmakers, I have met with potential collaborators about it. I have been taking steps behind the scenes, not telling anybody about that. So that's weird.
But honey, this is what we call it. This is when we do the astrology that aligns, we get the signs, and then we're just like, all right, like I say, it's just about, like,
weird.
my best readings are just the ones where I'm like, no new information, really, just validation. Like the things
That
that
is
are
very
they're
nice.
humming below the surface. Because we know ourselves best, but there's a lot of chatter noises, there's lots of options and paths we could take. But I just want to take this one step further and say that you're absolutely on the right track. Your midheaven line, which is your career line, is in Capricorn. So you are meant to be in your career like a boss ass bitch. Like it is like it's like there is a good thing there, but then it's like that Leo moon definitely is like kind of in the podcasting world because like there's a mic involved, there's a camera, but like this is more of the realm of back to Mercury, our Mercury, like the Geminis, the Virgos, which is important part of your chart too. I'm just saying the Leo moon is what we think about, like, yeah, being on set, producing things, like being seen, being witnessed. And I love what you said of like, is it me and maybe other people around me? Because that's Aquarius us, like anything we're doing with us, right? And it doesn't mean that we have to be like not about us at all. It's just like Aquarius has an I and an us at the end. So I think about it's like the I and the us, and we're doing this together. And we're also doing something to like move some kind of needle. And I'm gonna just tell you, you have your Venus and your Mars in Aquarius. Your Mars is your planet of drive, action. Your Venus is like your values, it's like how you're magnetic. So you have a lot of this Aquarius energy in your chart. It's very charged. It's going to be like very connected to how you make money, what motivates you, how you want to create your art. So doing anything, when I happened to mention Uranus in the beginning of the podcast, and I just was kind of off the cuff talking about that. But Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius. So Aquarius likes to do things differently, likes to upend, the systems, disrupt the status quo, and
Yeah.
push things. You do things in a way that's even a little bit like it's kind of like a cosmic rebel energy to it. So for you, and we're in this larger, I could do a whole separate podcast about in 2024, we entered a 20-year cycle that is the same cycle of the French Revolution and the Haitian Revolution,
Oh.
the Industrial Revolution, and it's Pluto in Aquarius. So we're in like an Aquarius moment in our society where we're going full blast into Aquarian energy. So when people bring up things they want to do that are like a little bit outside the box, or like I want to do things in a way that are a little different than they've always been done, or I want to do something that is more inclusive, or offers more options for new voices to be heard and seen, or new leadership styles. I'm like, do it, just do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Understand how much you should just do it, because we're just at the tip and the beginning of it, and that energy is going to be really celebrated, really magnified, really needed for us. And, to help you like maybe narrow in on what this may be, or to give you some inspiration. That's not even what I was excited to talk to you about before the
Oh,
call.
wow.
That's why I'm like, astrology is crazy. That's not even what I came to this call excited to talk about.
So weird.
The thing happening within that, right? Where it kind of these like Russian stacking, like nesting dolls of astrology transits happening. It's like there's a big 20-year transit, and then there's like transits in that, and they're all giving us just some insight into like how to focus our energy, or what are the obstacles, the opportunities that are coming up, so we can like meet them, as our best and highest selves. And there's a very interesting opportunity for you that started about a month ago, so like June 9th, and that will last until next June 2026. It is a once in a 12-year cycle of extreme expansion for you, abundance, opportunities, but also like a new path that's being formed for you. And it's a very like Midas touch energy. And I actually like bookmark from my book, because sometimes I'm like, I don't want you to think I'm just gassing you up because I'm excited to be a guest on your podcast. I am excited to be a guest on your podcast. I'm just speaking to the astrology, and your Jupiter right now, the planet of Jupiter, is you were born with Jupiter in Cancer. So your biggest blessings comes from this Cancer energy and aligning with it. And every 12 years, Jupiter returns to the same sign it was as when you were, is to its home sign. So you're in this thing called the Jupiter return, an activation year around that. And so the Cancer energy, I talk about in my book, the key is I need what I need. So first of all, it's a year of really coming home to yourself and being like, what do I need? What is that thing? And like, how can I really make that a priority? How can I really take care of myself? Cancer is also the sign that connects with other women and femme energy. And it's like a flow energy. And it's like, hey, let's all like take care of each other and collaborate instead of like competing in this weird like individualistic like matrix that people want to put us in, and it's going to deeply affect whereas in your chart your house of money and abundance. So by like probably over the next year, chances
Mm.
to work with this energy to open up to new maybe income streams or a new way of relating to money. But it's also your house of worthiness and self-worth, entering a new level of like embodied self-value and self-worth. And it's a beautiful experience. It can be a little bit it could be rapid growth. That's the only thing I will say is buckle up for like wow, 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 expanding, growing. But
Yeah.
that is gonna like hand off like a baton for you into what will kick off at the end of next summer, your nodal return of like living out, really understanding your highest soul's purpose at a way different level. So it's like, it's a lot to digest, but tell me what's coming up for you. What do we think about when I'm saying this?
Well, I'm so fascinated to go back to June and just look at my calendar to see what was going on at the time that you said something about June 9th, I believe. Um, but something that has kind of popped up recently is that there is another opportunity for me to write another book that I'm excited about. And then
Mm.
there is a potential other opportunity for me to write like more of a book, not
Mm.
like a fun little coffee table book, but more something that would be, yeah, a little bit more nerve-wracking to write and a little scarier. But I do
Mm.
feel like I want to pursue it, and I'm having a little trouble with focusing the direction.
Mm.
I am feeling a lot of imposter syndrome, confusion around. So that is what popped up for me. And of course it would be the course over this next year of when I would be writing potentially one or two things. Nailed it again, Maddie. What the hell?
No, it's not me, it's astrology.
That's
Astrology just keeps
Aquarius.
and it's Aquarius. If you pay attention and have anyone who's quasi skilled read for you, your mind will be blown. And so for you, I'm gonna offer you, may I offer you
Yes,
two things to nibble on in
please.
the mind as you go into this? I know how nerve-wracking it can be to again, like it's so exciting when someone kind of gives you an opportunity to write a book proposal, but a lot can go into it. And
Yeah.
the mind goes out and, like I very much relate to that. So I'm going to offer you a looking back and then a looking within prompt. So what I
Okay.
love about astrology is it gives us these phases and cycles I talked about before. So we can kind of understand if something's happening now in our lives, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So you're like, something might be going on this time that just can help me give me, maybe it's not going to be about the topic of the book, but it might give you, oh, like that was going on during this time. And this is what I can learn from that, or this
Mhm.
is how I can maybe go into this next cycle, that energy was just a little bit more, again, awareness, preparedness, confidence. So first thing, and you don't have to do it now, you can, do it after this podcast, but I want you to look at what was going on in your life from around end of June, like let's just call it June 25th, 2013 to
Okay.
July 16th, 2014.
Okay.
This was the last time you went through this Jupiter return, okay? So,
Weird.
and again, it's a little different because we're at a different point of our life, obviously, but like, was there anything that felt like expansive for you or following something, during that time, right? So, like,
Mhm.
think of that, okay? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
is anything clicking? Cosmic dots, are they connecting a little bit? Are we,
Yes,
Okay.
that's when my stand-up career started really kicking out. Like, things started kind of picking up and going well, and I was started to travel a lot and perform a lot and really thought that was gonna be what I wanted to do, and then, within a few years, I realized, "Okay, I don't
Yeah.
this is not gonna be sustainable for me, but how can I use it
Yeah.
to get out of it a little bit?" Yeah.
Okay, so that same thing is happening now, but now you have a different sense of yourself and knowing it's like a more of a fine-tuned way of working with that energy where that same cosmic current that kind of picked you up and your hard work it was like paying off and you're being visible and maybe even like making money in a different way and things just
Yeah.
happening. That's gonna happen again now. That's your it, right? Started like this June, and you have until next June.
Yeah.
So that's one, right? And then two, in all of your chart, um, we have something that's called the Chiron, and it's a key and it unlocks. Like it's usually we have like a big wound, and we all have it, everyone. And it's up to us to like not be avoidant or overcompensating or let that key control us, but instead to really like sit with it and let it take us on a journey, usually a very non-linear journey. And I like to say that Chiron is like the medicine that we're forced to take in our life. And it can feel hard and painful, but then we like, oh, we open up something with that key. We open up all aspects of ourselves and to a really like vibrant, kind of like technicolored life. And then that medicine that we take ends up becoming the medicine we make through art, through storytelling, through just our lived experience, through our work. So for
Yeah.
you and your Chiron is also in Cancer, but it's in the third house of communication, speaking, teaching, writing. And Chiron and Cancer can be very related to honestly. This is like a really big, broad category, but Chiron and Cancer can be a wound around just like being a woman, being in the feminine, or being emotional, all these things, right? Cancer is
Yeah.
emotional, it's sensitive, it's open. Cancer can relate to our family, it can relate to like, especially right now, in our society, like Chiron and Cancer is kind of like, ooh, there's a lot to talk about there. But I just want to offer that to you, and like if that gives you a prompt, because when I find like artists and my visionaries and my entrepreneurial clients, when they tap into their Chiron, whatever they make is so magnetic. Does that resonate, or do you have any questions on that or
Well,
anything
it's very
coming up from
interesting. I
there?
mean, like, 2 of the most important relationships in my life are cancers. My husband is a Cancer, and my mom's a Cancer.
Oh
So,
Lord, lots of content
that
there.
that actually leads into another question I had for you of these narratives around, like, "Oh, these signs don't usually go well together romantically or for friendships or whatever."
Yes.
And, me being an Aries, my husband being a Cancer, I mean, do you find
Yes.
truth in that? Is that something that's kind of outdated? How do you feel about those things?
Bullshit. Enrages me. I think the stuff I see online, I get because I think it's like clickbaity. We always have to be careful with this information, whether it's like esoteric or ancient or modern. It's like filtered through a certain lens of a person, right? And they have their own agenda. Back to the beginning of the conversation, we hold all 12 signs within us.
Yeah.
So what did we just learn about your chart? Your Jupiter is in Cancer. Your biggest planet of loving, luck, blessings, abundance is in the sign of Cancer. And like, here's the
Right.
thing, like, will there be certain things in an Aries and Cancer relationship? They're both cardinal signs. Aries rules the head, action, fire, go. Cancer wants to like pull back, think, emotionally tune in. Like sometimes my husband's a dream come true. He is like a dream human being. And sometimes like we have conflict and we
Right.
like figure it out together, and then like it's like that cracking open allows us to like weave our hearts closer together, right? And teaches me
Yeah.
about something and it teaches him. So maybe sometimes you're like, okay, what is your Cancer trying to teach me? And again, what is that activating and awakening within my heart and my chart? Because turns out that's where my biggest blessings are come. Some of my wounds and some of the spots that I need to learn about are through Cancer energy. But thank you for being a good guide and showing that to me. And now here I'm going to show you how to be a little bit of an Aries bad bitch, and it's a good balance. So does that like answer the
Yeah.
question?
Let's say somebody tuned in to my reading that you gave me and they were not born on my date. They are not an Aries, but they resonated with everything that you said, playing devil's
Mm,
advocate, more of the skepticism coming in of like, well, that could have been for anybody listening.
no, I mean, it's so true. And I think, like in the readings, the general things I'm telling people are like, believe in yourself, take up space, love yourself, don't be a dick. Those are just good rules to live by for everyone. So, yeah, like there are just universal truths. It's like
Right.
why certain spiritual paths and religions say the same thing over and over again. We need to hear things over and over again. There's universal truths. We all have the same ingredients in our chart. No one in this listening right now is missing something out of their chart. But what makes you unique is how they're formed. What are the things that are more dominant? What are the things that are more dormant? What are the things that are more active in your consciousness, in your psyche, in your everyday? What are the things that you're here to actually learn about a little bit more? And if someone's listening to this, I hope that they're hearing something from you and being like, yeah, like, oh, you know what? I want to like trust my creative side. I have Leo. Everyone has Leo in their chart somewhere. And the birth chart is this like big pizza pie in the sky. If you look at your chart, and there's like these panels, and I quite literally call them solar panels because they're lit up by the solar system, by the the universe, but they're lit up every zodiac season. So right now we're in Cancer season, going into Leo season, and so everyone listening, everyone's assignment during Leo season is to be Leo. Be a practice being a Leo for that season and see how that changes your life. See what that does. See what it activates in you. So yeah, like there's things that are universal about it, but like then there's things that are really specific to you. I don't have a Leo moon. I don't have a North Node Aquarius. I'm probably not gonna make a documentary in my life, or if I like, that's not my calling. Like, if someone said that to me on a call right now, I'd be like, "I just made this book, birthed 2 babies, freaking tired." That would not light me up. I'd be like,
Right.
"What?" Like, that is so not my divine timing for right now.
Yeah.
In a few years, I might be going through an Aquarius transit, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm feeling that because it's like the timing of my life is evolving, and the sky around us is activating our chart in different ways." So I hope that helps, but it's true that we are so connected while being so unique at the same time.
Right. And I'm sure belief plays a huge role in it. For example, let's say this conversation with you helps me get through that book proposal versus if I felt
Yes.
like, none of this is real, I might not follow through with that proposal. And therefore it doesn't work for me because that's my belief at the time. So I'm assuming that's a huge part of this too, right?
Exactly. Like, do you want this to align you and like listen to it? Like,
Yeah.
if like someone doesn't choose to take it, I'm like, cool. I think astrology really helps you know yourself more deeply and articulate all these parts of you. Which I think, we can't really love ourselves until we know ourselves, and we can't help other people love us until we know ourselves. Astrology, in my opinion, helps you stop doubting your gifts and just start doing your gifts. Because I work with so many amazing people who are just like, "Am I ready? Am I this enough? Am I too much of this?" And they won't even tell me what they're doing. And I'll read that right in their chart that they should be helping children, with something, the music or whatever it is. And they're just like, "Oh, that's what I was going to do." I'm like, "Then just go do it." 'Cause it's literally written in black and white right here. Can you just
Literally
stop doubting?
written in the stars,
Like,
baby. I mean,
what else are you waiting for? Right. So,
yeah. If you told me I'm supposed to work with children in music, I'd be like, no, that's not right. So it is really you can get those specifics that really kind of blow your mind. Is astrology also part of the other tools that we hear about, whether it's like full moon ceremonies and
mhm.
meditation and yoga and visualizations and vision boards? Do you find that it's all kind of encompassing, or do you feel like there are separate things going on that are
Mm.
being melded together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love these questions are very good. They're very different than the ones I've been getting lately. And I'm like, you're kind of backed into a perfect thing that I would love to talk about, which is
Okay.
people ask, like, do you believe in astrology? Kind of what we were just talking about. To me, I just say no. Because it's not a belief system to me. It's just a system. It's a tool. It's a literal study of patterns and cycles that we have historical data with since like BC times. So I'm not like believing in this. I add spiritual tools into my astrology. Like, I'll tell someone my
Mm,
cosmic RX is like, "Oh, Jupiter in Cancer, you're in a Jupiter return. I can give you practices like you should be working with the moon right now. You should be connecting to your moon sign, working with the moon phases. You should be spending time by water. You should be taking salt baths to like clear out your energy at the end of the day. You should be practicing like living in more flow. Maybe go somewhere by a beach to like tune into your intuition." Things I could give you my prescriptions off of that, but like that's not the astrology. That's just me filling in the blanks from there because I like the actionable energy of astrology. Because to me, astrology, it's a framework. It's just
yeah.
a framework to understand ourselves. And my astrology teacher is not spiritual at all, at all. He was like a, a Baptist minister who was in school and wrote a thesis and a dissertation, and he wanted to disprove astrology. And by the end of it, he's like, I had to become an astrologer. Like,
Oh
because
my
he's just,
gosh, how
but
crazy. That's
he's not
wild.
spiritual at all. So to me, astrology does not equal meditation or manifestation or doing inner child healing. Astrology is just like, it's just weather. And there are people who read the astrology weather in all different ways. So I would say when people are listening to astrology, whether it's a podcast, reading something, checking an app, reading a book, like, if something about it does you don't like it, then be like, "Maybe this is not the person for me. This is not the interpreter for me." Maybe
Yeah.
there's someone whose lived experience or whose energy or personality might resonate more with myself.
Yeah.
Astrology is the framework. It's not really a belief system. For me, I bring it all in. Like in my book, every zodiac key, I have a mindset tool, an embodiment practice, and a spiritual ritual. So if people want to understand what this
Mm.
looks like in their everyday life, Like, okay, there's journal prompts in there. There's stories I tell because I want to bring it to life. That's just my personal um, way of working with it. But all that to say, you should work with the moon. You
Oh,
separate. I can send you a thing, but you should start working with the moon because the Jupiter in Cancer year is like befriending the moon is going to she's going to take care of you
oh,
for the
I
next year
love this.
and
So
beyond, but definitely the next year.
it's so funny because my husband and I have dabbled in the whole full moon water situation where we'll put like a water
Yes.
outside under the moon overnight and then we'll drink it in the morning. I mean, it's just a fun thing to do as a couple. And we just think about what we want, what kind of fun things we would love to see happen over the next month or something. It's just fun, you know?
Listen, the couple that manifests with the moon together stays together. You're like freaking making magic, giggling, having like what's not to no, my
It's
husband
fun.
is such a muggle that when he met me, he's like, "Why are there jars of water and crystal? What are these rocks everywhere?" But now like we're in on it together because he also realized again after like a decade plus, he's like, shit is crazy, but it works, right? And it feels good. And the last thing I'll say about working with the moon and that rituals is like as humans, we want ritual. We love ritual, but like we've kind of done away with a lot of them. So that's why something like making moon water to I connect to myself, to my husband, to the moon more. And that actually they say ritual feeds our soul the way food feeds our body. Francis
Ah.
Weller said that.
Oh god, I love that, and the
I
fact
know.
that your husband, I think I read, like, works in finance, analytical guy my husband too works in finance, and I was curious, what was the shift for your husband to be like, "Maybe there's something to this shit after all," you know?
Oh my god, actually, this is kind of a fun story. I had a separate business and I was just starting to get into, like, astrology and things more just, like, with friends or consulting, and he started noticing, like, some shifts happening, people around me, like, "Well, that's a crazy story. That's kind of a crazy story," but he's just kinda like, "Okay." He's a super skeptic. His dad's a doctor. He played football, like, as like, something happened where he lost his job, and he always had a job. Very like, just a secure guy. Like, his resume is, like, 2 things from his whole entire life. Freaking out with this, like, stability and all and I was like, "It's okay. The block is the blessing. It's a reroute. Like, we're onto something more aligned. You doing like that job anyway?" And he's just like, "I have bills to pay." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And so he's, like, forcing all these interviews and forcing all these things, and they're not working. And I'm like, "Babe, you have, like, in a month, a really amazing, like, full moon in your career part of your chart. Something's gonna come up, but, like, we should write the list." He's like, "What list?" I'm like, "Your dream job list." And he's like, "No." So he goes on a few more interviews. They don't work out. And so finally one day we're at dinner. He's like, "All right, let's do the list. Let's just do the list."
Just
So we do it.
desperation.
Desperation. So we write it, like, on a cocktail napkin where all the best, manifestations and ideas are born out of. And so we write this list out, and he's like, and he's kinda getting into it. And then I think the next day, I think he had like a vulnerability hangover. He's like, "Oh, whatever." And I'm like, "No, no, look at that list. We're putting it on the fridge. I want you to visualize yourself every day, like going into this new job with these 10 things that you feel and so what you experience there." And then lo and behold, if astrology isn't real, on the day of that full moon, he got his dream job offer.
Oh my
All those
gosh.
10 things more than we even thought to ask for. And then, those moments of wobble energy where we don't know something's gonna work. He goes, "Can we
Yeah.
do that thing again? Can
Can we
can
do
we
the
do
list?
that
Yes.
that thing, that manifesting? Can we do that can we do that visual? What is that stuff?" And now, that was years ago. Now it's just like in our house. It's like he'll ask me things for the astrology with like what's going on and markets or life or I'm like family members. And he's the last thing I'll say is cute about it is he's like, "I don't really understand like your Reiki you do or like yeah, or like the tarot cards." He's like, "Those kind of scare me a little bit." I'm like, "Honey, there's a death card in our succulents. Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Just don't worry about that, babe." And then but he says we just did a podcast interview, he interviewed me. He's like, "Astrology is science." Like, he's so cute. He's like, "It's just science. Like, it's
Oh,
just
funny.
data
Oh my
and
gosh.
numbers." And, like, he doesn't even, like, bat an eye at it anymore.
That's pretty much all the credibility you need. Turning a football finance boy into astrology.
A football player, bruh. Yeah, into, like, an astrology girly.
Oh my gosh, Maddie, this was so much
Yeah.
fun. Any last things that you wanna leave people with, and then where can people find your book, all that good stuff?
Yeah, all I just wanna leave people with is the reminder, magic is real. You are magic, you are real. You
Right.
deserve to live a life where you feel alive and connected to your magic and, like, where you have some fun. Okay. So that's where I'll leave people. And then if someone wants to find me, the old Gram is always a good place. The CosmicRX on IG is just a good like hub. Our website, thecosmicrx.com. You'll find me there blabbering on about astrology a lot. I do a podcast that's linked there, the book, we have a ton of free resources in our blog, but that's a good spot. And I do check my DMs. It takes me a minute sometimes, but like I do check every single one. So if someone wants to come say hi, find me there.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, you can go grab Maddie's book. It's officially available. And a couple things I promised to share about when I reflected on the reading. But first, we didn't get into this story on this episode. And I think it's just a very interesting one. But and you can go listen to Maddie share about this herself on her podcast and other places. But she talks about how she was very into vision boards and visualizations at one point, maybe still is, I don't know. And she really wanted to have a baby and write a book. Those were her two big things that she really wanted to bring into her life. And so she created a vision board around, those things and some other stuff. And within a year, she got a book deal and wrote a book and had not one baby, but two babies, like she mentioned. All of that within 1 year. And when she looked closer at her vision board, the picture she had put on her board was a toddler because she was trying to, manifest a baby basically. But when she looked closer at the photo, that toddler was actually pushing a stroller of a newborn in it. So she jokes about, get really specific when you try to welcome something into your life and put something on your vision board because she was just going for one baby, picked a photo, not thinking about it. And she ended up with two. I thought that was pretty funny. Updates on the reading. So I shared my responses to her in real time on this episode, but then the things that I looked into afterward was more of, the dates and stuff like that. She mentioned the date June 9th. And when I looked back in my calendar, June 9th was a day that I turned in a writing project. And the project was something I got to write for a really well-known comedian, somebody I grew up watching. And the script that I wrote, I was able to be really unfiltered, and I thought it was really fun. And also the topic of the script was very impactful as well. So it really hit all of my, it checked all my boxes for the things that I like to make. When I sent that in, I remember thinking, wow, I really want to work on more projects like this because this one was really a blast for me to create. And I'm lucky that I get to do this, quite a bit. But this one especially felt really fun for me. So I thought that was interesting because it was the exact date that she mentioned. And it was really kind of the first project that I had worked on of that particular kind, I guess. And she also mentioned that year timeline, which a project like this from start to finish usually takes about a year. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And then once I hopped off the recording, she had mentioned try to get your book proposal in before July 18th. It was my goal to get my proposal in by July 18th because July 18th is my husband's birthday and we had plans those couple days for his birthday. So I wanted to get my work in so I could, enjoy time with him. So just interesting, could I have made meaning out of any date that was listed or that was mentioned? Sure. But those were pretty spot on for what was shared about those dates. And, I don't know, you guys, perhaps everything and nothing is true at the same time. Who knows? What is life? What are we? What's going on here? I hope you have an awesome day and I will talk to you soon. So glad you tuned into Self-Helpless. If you felt supported by this or a past episode, here's how you can support the show. Feel free to share it with someone who may enjoy the variety of conversations we have here. You can also become a monthly or annual patron of the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/selfhelpless, where you can vote on topics, submit your own, or be a quiet supporter. 100% of Patreon and merch proceeds go directly to operating costs, keeping all episodes free, consistent, and available across platforms with minimal ads. If you want to show some extra love, you can leave an Apple Podcast review or send an email to share how Self-Helpless has impacted you. All of this and more goods can be found at selfhelplesspodcast.com. All right. Love you big time. And thank you so much.